Hey good people, how you doing? David Taub here, co-creator of nextlevelguitar.com. Hope all is going well, and I hope your guitar journey is going famously. And today I have a lesson on blues rock soloing. We're going to be playing over a jam track. I'm going to show you some different scales and different arpeggios and different ways to attack this from a soloing and improvisational perspective. And we'll probably break this lesson up into multiple parts, so be sure to tune in for the whole series, right? We're gonna have a good time rocking out over this kind of like ballady rock kind of jam. And I'll put the jam at the end of the video also, just and let it play so you could practice these techniques and scales over it. And you know, really gotta practice over your jam tracks and you know, refine your art and keep honing your skills. Makes all the difference in the world. And hey, if you would like to see a lot of the scales I'm talking about drawn out on paper today, click on the link in the text box, in the YouTube text box that is, and I'll send you a free video lesson and a free ebook that has tons of scale diagrams, chord charts. It's packed with lessons and other information. I'll send it to you for free. No strings attached. Just click on that link, free video lesson and a free ebook you get from Next Level Guitar. So this jam today is going to be in the key of E minor, and the chords we're going to be playing are E minor or E minor 7th. You could play to a G power chord, to an A power chord, back to E minor 7th, to a G power chord, to a D power chord, E minor, G power chord, A power chord again, and then D power chord, and then to an A power chord. It starts over again. All right, so key of E minor, and with all these power chords, it's great because it's just wide open with all the different scales and different soloing techniques that you could use. And when you're soloing, you could either solo, you have two choices. You could solo over what relates to all. That means use the same set of scales over all the chords, no matter what the chord is you're playing, that same set of scales. Or you could solo, you could treat each chord as a separate event, as I call it, and solo over each chord independently. But today we'll keep it simple and we'll just treat everything, we'll play what relates to all. So we're in the key of E minor, and in this rock kind of format, or rock bluesy kind of ballady kind of thing, minor key tonality works really, really well. So we want to think, you know, pentatonic minor, E minor pentatonic, right? Because we're in the key of E, and minor pentatonic, pretty much for most part, you could play over most minor key jams. So key of E minor, so E minor pentatonic. Let me show you a couple E minor pentatonic positions you could use. Open E minor pentatonic position is a great one. It looks like this. So I want you to move around the neck a little bit and not be just stuck in one position. So this next minor pentatonic is going to combine three box shapes. I call this the expanded 2 minor pentatonic scale. And in E, our root is right here, E on that 7th fret of the A string. So we're going to start it at the 5th fret on the low E string. Here's what it looks like slow. And we end here with another E. Make sure you know where all those E notes are. And then of course you have your E minor pentatonic basic box shape, which everyone knows, here at the 12th fret. But make it the expanded scale. We'll take the piece before it and piece after, and it looks like this. And you could add the flat 5 to any of these and make these minor pentatonics into the blues scale. And that pentatonic scale is great. You know, you could even add the blues note to it, add the flat 5, making it the blues scale. But what I was doing a lot when soloing is I was using some modal playing, and I was using a lot of E Dorian. And if you don't know about modal playing, that's okay. I'll make it real easy for you. Just think of the modes of the major scale. Just think of them as just variations of major scales. That's all they are. Anytime you play a major scale, which you probably know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? The major scale. Whenever you take that scale and start and emphasize on any other note in that scale but the root note, you're playing in the mode. So that's all we're doing is we're playing a major scale, but we're starting and emphasizing on a different note, in this instance E, because we want to use a minor sounding mode like Dorian, which is the second mode of the major scale. You could even use Aeolian, which is the sixth mode of the major scale. Either one would work. I was using Dorian, and the reason why either one works is basically because we're using power chords. And with power chords where you just have like the G power chord, we're just playing the root and the fifth, right? There's no third we're not playing. You play the octave too, right? It's D and A. So power chords really technically not major or minor, it's just a fifth chord. So so much will work over them. And in rock playing and in bluesy rock playing, minor pentatonic sounds so good because you want that kind of darker, kind of minory kind of sound. And same thing with the modes as far as Dorian gives you that real rock sound. If you're not using the Dorian mode and you're like a rock player or rock blues player, man, you definitely want to tune into some of my lessons on the website and check them out, as well as Aeolian mode. I strongly recommend you getting those two down. They'll open up the fretboard like crazy, right? And it's not that difficult because you're just playing major scales, basically. Okay, so this is wide open, this jam. That's why I love it so much. So we could do so much as far as playing in minor pentatonic, playing minor pentatonic in blues. You could use E Dorian, which is the same as D major, or we can use E Aeolian, which is the same as G major. G major. So you could play G major scales focused on E Aeolian, or you could play D major scales focused on E Dorian, right? Let me do that for you. How about I just play that just for a second and show you the different sounds that you can get. Let's start the jam up. And yeah, and focus on those E notes, right? E minor pentatonic and blues. Great place to start. There's that blue note. There it is again. Right, now here's E Dorian. Sounds good, right? It's the same as D major. But I'm focusing on those E notes. Keep going back to the E notes. So here's E Dorian. Mixed with the blues scale. And here's E Aeolian. There's a one note difference. So Aeolian mode and Dorian mode are very close. There's only one note difference. The Dorian has a major sixth, Aeolian has a flat sixth. Now that can get you into trouble if you pick the wrong one down the road later, and I'll have to teach you how not to do that, because if we're playing full major or full minor chords, there could be a one note rub, and that one note will sound very bad, very out. That's why power chords are so wide open, because that third isn't in there. You're not playing the full chord. Remember, the less notes or the less chords that you're playing, the more wide open it is, and power chords are wide open. So this gives us a lot. You can use your judgment because it's so wide open. And I'll tell you the scale names. We're going to get into that, and I'll show you some shapes. And remember, a lot of you might be saying things like, I just use my ear to find the notes, and I just solo by ear. And that's fine. If you could do that, that's awesome. And eventually, your ear will develop if you get to that point to where you can find the notes by ear, and your ear takes you to all the hip ones. But I get emails from a lot of players, and they say, hey, my ear is not that developed yet. How can I tell? What's the, the magic? There is no magic, really. It's just all about the chords and studying, the relationship between scales and chords, and what scales sound good over what chords. Scales are the building blocks. So, Okay, so what we'll do is we'll solo overall. Okay, we're soloing what relates to all in the key of E minor. So let me show you some Dorian and Aeolian scales that you could play over this jam. They'll sound really cool. E Dorian, which is the same as D major. Here is a great, one great place to do it. Low E string, 12th fret root is our E note. And here's what this scale looks like. E Dorian, D major, focusing on the E notes. Here's another cool thing you could do with E Dorian. Again, it probably looks like a D major scale to you. We're going to start this one here on the high E string on the 10th fret on the D note, but start it here on the E note to make it E Dorian. Notice I'm ending it on the E, not on the D, because that would make it too major sounding, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We don't want it like that. We want it Dorian, minor tonality. So listen, same notes. See, it sounds much darker, much more minor because I'm focusing on the E to the E, not on the D. A couple quick ones for E natural minor or G major, E Aeolian is, again, here's our low note on the root, 12th fret on the E string. And this is same as G major, but we're focusing on the E notes. E natural minor looks like this. The only difference between Dorian is Dorian has this note in it, that F sharp, that C sharp, where Aeolian has the C natural. And here's another cool natural minor with the 5th string root. First finger on 7th fret, that's our E. E natural minor. And you could even play like your G major scale, like, but focus on E notes. These are all technically G major, E minor, same thing, E natural minor. Open E, you could start it with 2nd fret F sharp G. Aeolian, E natural minor. So as you notice, there's only that one note difference between Aeolian and Dorian. So have fun with this, and remember, when you're playing that, you could be thinking in terms of, if you want to play E Aeolian, just play your G major scales, focus on E, and that's E Aeolian. And also you can play your E Dorian scales, which is D major, focused on E, and of course E minor pentatonic and E blues, and that will work over all the chords. And obviously, if you're landing on, you probably want to pick out some of the chord tones, the notes that make up each chord, and land on those as the chord changes, because that'll make a real strong solo statement, right? And then, you might want to start off real mellow at first and then build things up. You don't need a lot of notes. We'll just use the E minor pentatonic. Let your notes ring. Now go into E Dorian. Extra notes. Now E blues scale. Do a little E minor pentatonic. Right? Repeat your lick. Maybe vary it a little bit. A little different inversion. More E minor pentatonic. Here's Dorian. Now let's do some E Aeolian. E natural minor, which is the same as G major. Here's that one up top of the 12th fret. You hear that? There's that one note difference. Let that E string ring. Right, here's D major, but I'm focusing on E. There's that E, so that's E Dorian. But this is D major scale I showed you before. I just played a G major 7th arpeggio, which is E minor, because I focus on those E notes. More minor pentatonic. Blue scale. Go back. Got some breath in there. Some space. There's that open note. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Learn some of those scale shapes if you don't know them yet, and lay down the track or use the track at the end of this lesson that I'm going to let that track run, and practice, okay? And tune into the next one. I'm going to show you some of those specific licks and maybe some of the arpeggios that I was playing, all right? And use these scales as building blocks. But the main thing is use this lesson as a template and kind of pick apart the chords if your ear is not ready to guide you to those notes. Remember, it's the chords that give you the roadmap. I can't say that enough. So have fun with that. Be sure to go to our website, nextlevelguitar.com. There's over 1,150 video lessons, written lessons, jam tracks. It's absolutely packed. There's a 3-day free pass on the homepage right now. 3 free days, all access. Check it out. And don't forget, click on that link below to get the free video lesson and free ebook that I wrote. I'll send it to you for free from Next Level Guitar. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tune in to the next segment on this in this series, and we're going to do lots more to come. You rock. Check out the jam track.